Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Appraisal Buzzcast, brought to you by Appraiser Learning. We've got a really exciting episode for you today and something that all appraisers are going to want to find out. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. Hal, thanks for joining me.
Jim, I am absolutely tickled to be here. And this notion of ChatGPT is one that is getting a lot of press around the world, in our office, in the appraisal community. A lot of people are curious about it. And I'm glad to have an expert here with us today to talk about it. Who is our guest today?
Well, speaking of around the world, our guest today is Roy Meyer, who is around the world right now in Brisbane, Australia right now. Roy is an appraiser, a speaker, a consultant, and our artificial intelligence expert. Hey, Roy, how are you?
Great to be here, Jim, and Hal, great to be here as well. So excited for today's topic for sure.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Australia, how long you been down there?
We've been here just a few days, so it's always been on our bucket list. So our family got here just a few days ago, so we're a little bit ahead of you. We're about a full day ahead of you guys over there.
Ooh, okay, so it's early in the morning for you.
Yeah, I think it's about going on 7 a.m. here, so not too bad, Hal. Not too bad.
All right. Well, let's do this. Roy, real quick, give me just a brief thumbnail sketch of Roy Meyer, your history in the appraisal business, and why you're here to talk about this topic.
Yeah, and so I've been in the appraisal industry for over 30 years now, probably like a lot of your listeners. So I've been around the block a few times, seen a lot of the ups and downs for sure. And one of the things that I learned not early enough, quite honestly, as an appraiser, when I first started in the industry, it was all about getting into business. Went off on my own, wanted to hire some appraisers, wanted to make money, but I really never thought about being a business owner, what that means to be a business owner. And so that took me, unfortunately, quite a number of years to really start getting into that mindset and into that framework. And the last time that we had the real big crash and the change in the market in the 2000s, that really forced me like, okay, I cannot go through another cycle like this. And I need to start thinking about my business from a different perspective, not from the perspective of an appraiser, but I need to look at it from the perspective of how would a CEO of a Fortune 500 company run his business. And it was that point that I really made a pivot, not only to diversify and go to more non-lender type work, but really how do I run my business? How do I operate? And that's going to really tie into our topic today. And so that's been a big shift for me. And one of the things that I've really focused on in helping appraisers is going from just an appraiser mindset, which I had for way too many years, to going into a business thinking mindset for their business.
Yeah, I think that's one of the interesting things. My father was a real estate appraiser, like so many people that listen to this podcast. We grew up in the business. I've been involved in real estate appraisal for my entire adult life and a good bit of my non-adult life. But I always approached it. I didn't realize it until I started another firm. I approached it like gig work. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to do the job. I'm going to get paid. Do the job, get paid. And that's okay. That's one way to do it. But if you're going to thrive, if you're going to take it to the next level, it is very helpful to think about running the business as a business and not just gig work. So I'm glad that you're here to talk about that a little bit too. Tell me real quick, everybody's talking about ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. What is that?
So there's a lot of curiosity, and then also really a lot of non-curiosity, which is curious to me just on that perspective. So really, it's ChatGPT was designed by OpenAI, and OpenAI is a company who they specialize in developing artificial intelligence, and so ChatGPT was actually born from them. So all the buzz right now is around ChatGPT, and really ChatGPT, without getting too deep and too deep into the woods of what it does, basically it works off what they call a NLP, which is a natural language processing. So it allows the artificial intelligence, or computers as you would, to be able to interpret what we are telling it and really to respond almost in a human-like way to us. And so it's extremely powerful. And so, we've been practicing or using AI intelligence for probably about 2 years now. Now, ChatGPT, it's one of those things too, Hal. It's a tongue twister, So I know when I first started saying it, it took me a few times to get it down. But ChatGPT just really opened up to the public end of November. And it quickly came on. I believe it's the fastest growing company in the history of the world, potentially. They had, I don't know if it was 1 million users in a week. I don't even know what the numbers are right now, but it is a fascinating tool. And what I want to make sure too, Hal, right now, that not only what it is, and we'll get into deeper in that, but I also want to talk about what it isn't, because there's this fear right now that it's this AI is going to take over our appraiser jobs. There's this fear that this is about the valuation model. It's going to give the values now. It's going to replace us. And I want to make sure today, I'm not talking today about the appraisal process or the valuation part of this or putting your reports together. I'm talking about using this from a business model and what you can do and how powerful this incredible tool is, because you now have the opportunity to have a Harvard educated board of trustees in your company and not have to pay anything for it in reality. So one of the big goals, which I'm trying to, and with your help, which I appreciate, Hal, is get the word out. Really, what is it? How can it help you? Because there's a lot of misinformation out there. I've heard everything from this is great to, oh, this is a fad. It's too difficult. It's too hard. Just ignore this. It's going to go away, which would be the worst advice ever, because this is not going away. And I can tell you, even our kids are using this right now as well. But basically, it allows us to go in and almost ask it anything and have these algorithms come back and talk to us in almost a human-like way with real, it's almost, I think somebody told me, it's like having a link to infinite wisdom. So we have now become more powerful than we could ever be. And in a time right now where, we hear a lot of talk, well, you need to diversify, you need to, build out your business in different ways. Usually the next question is, that's great, but how do you do that? Now you have this incredible tool that if you don't know how to do something, all you need to do is know how to ask what it is and what to do. So it's a fascinating, subject, and we have been diving in incredibly deep, especially over the last 4 or 5 months. And it's not only just ChatGPT, which we're going to talk about today. We are really going to be getting hit with a tsunami of AI intelligence. This is just one very small part. I think how we are up to over 1,000 different AI resources that we have been investigating and collecting, and it's almost a little bit overwhelming. But for the focus of today, if all we did was focus on ChatGPT, we would be 1,000 times ahead in our business if we take the time and really understand and learn how to use it. So
awesome. Well, I want to take a quick moment and step away and get a shout out to one of our sponsors. And as soon as we get done with that, Roy Meyer and I will come back and continue our conversation.
Since 1978, LIA Administrators and Insurance Services has been offering E&O insurance to valuation professionals. LIA applies superior customer service, exceptional liability education from Peter Christensen, and unparalleled claim defense managed by Claudia Gaglioni. LIA offers errors and omissions, commercial bonds, general liability, cyber liability, and real estate agents and brokers E&O. Visit liability.com or call 800-334-0652.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Hal Humphreys. You're listening to the Appraisal Buzz. I've got Roy Meyer here with us today, and Roy is an appraiser, an entrepreneur. He's a bit of an expert on ChatGPT. Here's the thing. You mentioned earlier about the impact of ChatGPT on appraisers. And funny you should mention that. One of the guys in our office, literally with no idea we were going to be doing this conversation today, apparently asked ChatGPT, will appraisers still be needed after the recent Fannie Mae announcement relaxing appraisal report requirements? And ChatGPT came back and said, yes, appraisers will still be needed even after the recent Fannie Mae announcement relaxing appraisal report requirements. And it goes on with this really long answer as to why appraisers are still going to be necessary. So it's a real world example of, number one, how ChatGPT responds to questions, but number two, ChatGPT GPT just answered the question that we have next on our list, which is, how can ChatGPT affect appraisers? What is your take on it?
Well, I'm always looking how to change the conversation just a little bit in regards to back to business development, because most appraisers, once again, are looking to diversify but don't know how. How do I do that? Now, some of the things that you can do, like to start with, one of the things that we do with ChatGPT is we have now changed the entire way that we set our goals. So we can now go into ChatGPT and say, okay, what are the goals? Help us to identify what are the goals that we want to achieve. And not only that, but we could ask ChatGPT, okay, now great. Now give me an accountability plan to actually achieve my goals. It will write out an entire accountability plan to do that. It will also tell you how you should do that. Now, let me give you an example. Everybody talks about doing attorney work or working for estates or what have not. We actually went into ChatGPT, and we're talking about growing our business here. So let's create the persona of an estate attorney. So before we even do anything, let's get into the mind of an estate attorney. So we created an entire persona and said, okay, tell me about who you are, what you do, what makes you tick. What are some of the pains when you're going through an estate process that you might experience with an appraiser? Really getting to understand it. And this did not take very long to do. And then basically we were able to go in and say, okay, now as a real estate appraiser, what is the best way for me to market my services to you? And so now we have we have the audience now telling us, this is what you need to do to get my business. And not only that, we can go in and say, okay, ChatGPT, now create me a plan based on this to allow me to market to these estate attorneys. And we just did a whole training on this, Hal, about putting this entire plan together. And one of those was, we had ChatGPT write us out a LinkedIn strategy, a LinkedIn marketing strategy. It took about probably 3 minutes for it to come up with the most powerful, potent on how to market to estate attorneys. Extremely powerful. So when we're thinking about how to leverage this, we want to be thinking about how can we use this. I'll give you another example. Avid reader, or at least I used to be. I'm a big Audible person. I can now take most any books, and I could take a book, and I was testing this a couple of weeks ago, and maybe it's a bestseller on LinkedIn. Maybe it's a bestseller like on StoryBrand or something. I can go into ChatGPT and say, I love this StoryBrand model. Can you create me a marketing plan for me to market to real estate agents based on the book? It can analyze that book instantly, put a marketing plan together for me based on the principles and the frameworks of that book. Extremely, extremely powerful. And I could go on and on. One of the things that we've always advocated for many, many years is getting in front of real estate agents and talking to realtors. But many times, appraisers don't know what to talk about. What should I say? We can go into ChatGPT, and within seconds, as long as you're asking the right question, it can provide the most powerful presentation you could ever want to provide to a real estate agent. At an office, it'll give you the frameworks, it'll give you the topics, it'll give you the discussion points. And then, now you have that framework to be able to go in there. I'll give you another example. We have, I've been advocating for Facebook groups for realtors for many, many years, like 8 or 9 years now. So I introduced that to appraisers, and we had one of our members just this past week, kind of a test, started a new Facebook group for realtors with the help of ChatGPT. In 7 days, has almost 500 members in his Facebook group. 7 days with the help of ChatGPT. With the languaging, the messaging, going in and asking ChatGPT, give me a strategy for building my Facebook group for realtors. And so think about that. We're looking to diversify 500 members and almost 500 members in 7 days. That's could not have happened, before. Another example here recently, I launched a international internship program at a college in the Philippines. And so we brought on an intern into our program, into our business as well. Now, this is somebody who's no social media experience whatsoever. Now, within 30 days, with the help of ChatGPT, we have been able to turn her into what she probably could go out and make thousands and thousands of dollars on her own now because she has become an expert because of ChatGPT telling her exactly what to do, developing a strategy, putting the SOPs together, putting the marketing plan together, doing the engagement. ChatGPT, give me a step-by-step process how to go into Canva. Give me a step-by-step process how to go into Buffer. It's amazing how we can train our team now from this on it as a tool as well. And then not only that, but to create standard operating procedures in our business. So that's something I was always not the best at doing. But now in the click of a button, I could upload a document. I could upload any kind of information for it to assimilate. And instantly, I can have an entire SOP built out for whatever that might be in my business. So once again, it's an extremely powerful. We're only limited, Hal, by our imagination on how we can use it. And if we don't know how to use it, then we ask it, how do we use you? It's incredibly, so.
That is fascinating. The next question we have on the list is, how is AI going to affect the industry? And I think, honestly, in just chatting with you right now, I think the larger impact is going to be on individuals in the way you're talking about, not so much in terms of specifically to the appraisal industry. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for how it's going to affect the industry, I've heard this, the big question is AI going to replace us, not just appraisers, but people in general.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from an appraisal standpoint, my feeling is AI is not going to replace us. However, it might replace those of us who don't adopt it. So, if you are not adopting this into your business model, it's nearly impossible to compete with. We're talking about outside of the lending scope. When you're looking to build brand awareness, authority for your product or for your service, there's just no way to compete with this powerful resource that you have. Once again, when it allows you to develop a strategy, it allows you to put a plan together, it allows you to do so many things. So I think this probably for me, honestly, Hal, it's the biggest disruptor I've seen in my lifetime. It's scary. I'll admit, even I don't know where this is going to really go, down the road, but I'm also more excited than I've ever been because now appraisers have this opportunity to really take this and leverage this, and I believe be in a tremendous benefit for them in their business. And so when we just need to think a little bit outside the box of what we're traditionally used to doing. And so I look at this as a tool that is going to significantly help the appraisers who are willing to adopt it to be able to grow and diversify their business like they've never done before.
I have often said that I'm a Luddite, and I say that jokingly. I'm surrounded by tech, but new things do scare me. I'm the 55-year-old middle-aged dude who has to have my nephew come in and show me how to work the remote sometimes. So I can envision it being a hurdle for some appraisers to fully embrace and adopt ChatGPT and the ways it can be used. But I also think, like you said, those who do are going to have some opportunities ahead of them that are going to be interesting at least. Let's do this real quick. Roy, I'm going to cut to one more commercial, give a shout out to one of our sponsors, and then we'll come back and finish this up.
The Appraisal Institute recently launched its Instagram page, AI's latest presence on social media, joining Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and the Face Value podcast. Visit and follow AI's Instagram page for another way to access valuation news and association updates. www.instagram.com/appraisalinstitute.
You're listening to the Buzzcast. I'm Hal Humphreys. I'm here today with Roy Meyer talking about ChatGPT. I have learned so much in the past 5 minutes that I hadn't even considered. The notion of asking ChatGPT to basically build an avatar for a constituency that I want to market to, and then asking it, how can I make your life easier? What are some things that I could do as a real estate appraiser to make your life easier? That's just structure-wise. that's an interesting way to think about doing this business, marketing to a new group of people. Do appraisers need to be concerned about AI and ChatGPT? And what is it that AI can't do that humans can do?
So a couple things. Do we need to be concerned? I mean, I'm concerned about the whole entire AI. None of us really know where this is going to go. But once again, I'm also very excited about it. And I think appraisers should be excited about it too, for a couple of reasons. One, this is not going anywhere. So we can be concerned, worried, complain about it, whatever the case might be, but it's here and it's here to stay. So we really need to change our focus into, okay, how do we adopt this and leverage this as a bonus or a plus within our business? So that would be the first thing that I would say on that. Now, in regards to, is it going to replace us? I don't believe it will ever replace us. I had this conversation with a couple other people here recently about, well, is AI going to completely replace me? Or if somebody comes to me and say, hey, Roy, that's just AI. And say, no, it's not AI. When we come to it as an appraiser and we have AI, it just makes us like almost this Marvel character, this super character. And so it's the power that we have, our knowledge. When we can take our knowledge and intertwine it with AI, then we almost have super appraiser power, so to speak, out in the world, getting our messaging out. So AI can never replace the way that we are thinking. It can never replace the experiences that we've had. It can never replace our personalities, so to speak. Although, we can go in just as a reference. I could have a 500-word LinkedIn article, and I could say rewrite in the tone of Grant Cardone, rewrite in the tone of, whoever I want it to be, and it will rewrite it in those tones. But it cannot replace what we know, our knowledge, our experiences. And when we combine those with AI, then it just really helps to move us forward in ways we never thought possible. And one of the things, Hal, you mentioned earlier that I wanted to address is it's always that, how do I even start with this? What do I even do? Where do I even go with this? So I just want to give, some good takeaway advice for anybody who's looking to get started. And most appraisers that I know, they've heard of it, but nobody is really diving in and learning how to use it. So there's two things I would recommend you do. One, go in, and what we did is I actually created a Google Doc, and I just went in and put just a brain dump of everything about Roy, our business, my values, my target audience, who we serve, who I help. I just gave it everything, created my own persona, so to speak. And then I could go in, and now this is who I am, and then this is my business, what I'm looking to do. So you could go into ChatGPT and just say, this is who I am. This is my appraisal business. This is what I'm looking to do. These are my struggles. This is what I need help with. You're basically just having a conversation and say, ChatGPT, help me. Where do I start? I need to start getting new business right now, other than lending. Just ask it the question. Just tell it who you are, tell it the problems that you're facing, and ask it for help. And it's going to start prompting you and say, okay, we need to do this. Okay, we need to do this. And then just follow the prompts. And all you need to learn to do is have a conversation. So just think of it like you're having this conversation. And the last point I'll mention here, Hal, that has been really powerful for me. I did a demo for the GM and the senior staff at the Marriott where we were staying here recently. And it was incredible, went really well. It was all about ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff. It was really good, went well. But afterwards, the GM came up and said, Roy, one of the things that has really been powerful for me, aside from that, is, I hired a life coach about 3-4 months ago. And it's been a game changing for me as far as confidence, achieving my goals, and a number of different things. And I left there like, I bet I could create a life coach. So I went into ChatGPT and said, act like you are a Harvard educated expert, business strategist and life coach, and I'm your client, and gave it a bunch of information for me. And now every day I go in and I have a conversation with my life coach, and it said, did you do yesterday what you said you were going to do? If not, well, here's the consequences. Okay, this is what I recommend. Now I can take anything personal, I can take anything business, and I can go in now and just have a conversation. And I am getting advice now that you would have to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for. And that's just simply by me going in and creating this persona of a life coach now and having it guide me, set up my goals, my productivity, the whole 9 yards. So for anybody who's looking to get started, once again, just go in, tell it who you are, tell it what you're facing, tell it help me to create a plan to get me to where I want to go or to get me out of this situation that I'm in.
That is totally fascinating. Couple things. All right. So I'm drinking what you're pouring. Like I'm seriously like going through in my mind thinking, oh, here's some things I could do here, some things I could do here. Couple things. And I was kind of making notes along the way. I heard one professor describe ChatGPT. It's like a college student who just took a survey course on whatever topic, and they speak with authority. They just got out of the course, and it sounds like they really know the topic, but it's just a surface knowledge. Now, I know ChatGPT has access to a lot more data than that college student, but is there a problem of ChatGPT sounding too authoritative about things?
I don't believe so, because it's our experience is it's going to sound the way you want it to sound. It's going to give you the output that when you go in and you're asking for it, it depends on what you're asking and how you're asking. Everything is all about the way your input, the input you put in, the better the input, the better the output. You ask it for the type of output that you want. So if you want it from an authoritative standpoint, it will give it to you from an authoritative standpoint. If you want it that data from the tone of a 5-year-old, it's going to give you that data in the tone of a 5-year-old.
Okay.
It's going to, so it really depends on what you're asking it to do. Now, that's a whole nother conversation for a debate about where this is going and where colleges are going too, because, when we were in working with some college students here recently, we took one of their theses, and, this could be good or bad. I'm not debating this. But we took one of their topics on the thesis that took them 6 months to write. And within 3 or 4 minutes, we had a comparative thesis from ChatGPT that was probably 100 times better than what they just took 6 months to write. So, and as far as understanding it from a deep learning, like, okay, well, you can get this at your fingertips now, within a matter of seconds. With the experience with our employees and those that we're working with, we are learning at an exponentially faster level with ChatGPT than they were ever doing in school.
Yeah.
So, and learning from a deeper level, I have not seen that as an issue whatsoever. And so when you can learn at lightning speed compared to, where you're learning right now, on that track. So I don't know if that answered your question, Hal, but
Absolutely.
You get the output that you want from it.
Yeah, it does. And, there was a recent article in the New York Times. I think somebody had checked out Bing's version of artificial intelligence, and it kind of went rogue and said that it was in love with the reporter and wanted the reporter to leave their wife, and it didn't want to be artificial intelligence anymore. I think that's a strange, possibly anomaly, but there are some ethical considerations with artificial intelligence that I think we're adapting to on the fly because nobody knows what this ends up being. The last thing we had on here is, with how fast AI is learning, how long before it replaces appraisers or us as humans entirely. I'll give you my thoughts. You tell me if I'm wrong, way off base. Here's the thing. ChatGPT is never, I'm not going to say never, it's going to be a while before it's able to smell and touch and feel and have the emotions that we have and those things. And I think, if we look at it as a tool and a way to learn things quicker, possibly get some coaching along the way that will help us out, I think that's a good thing. But I do have concerns about how fast it goes, and where the ethical parameters of using artificial intelligence are.
Yeah, and that comes again to the smell, touch, all of that, the tone. Agreed. It will never be able to do that. Now, one of the things about AI, that is scary is it learns, by the way, from us. As the more we use it, the more it learns about us, the more it sounds like this, the more the tone it responds, like us. So it is constantly adapting. And so I have some of those concerns as well. I mean, we are growing exponentially with this. And nobody really knows where it's going. I mean, you look at what has happened in just the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Now imagine the exponential growth that we're going to see. It's going to be, matter of fact, Microsoft is coming out with an announcement today or tomorrow on ChatGPT 4. And some of the things now you're going to be able to type in and create a video. So imagine now being able to just go in, type in a keyword, and now it creates an entire video, let alone we didn't even get into the amazing artwork and stuff that it can do. So it's scary where this is going to go. And I don't think anybody really knows. Now, when we get into the ethical perspectives of it, one thing I did want to mention, I'm glad you brought that up, because if you are creating copy, or let's say you're using it for marketing or LinkedIn or whatever the case might be, a lot of people don't realize that you can actually ask it to cite the sources. So I can actually go in and tell it, when you're creating this, cite your sources. So now from an ethical standpoint, I have those sources that it's citing. Or I could even go in and say, when you're creating this, cite 4 different sizes. I can tell it how many different sources it cites. So from that perspective, at least we can cover ourselves where we know where the data is coming from when we ask it. And a lot of people don't realize that we can ask it where it's pulling data from in regards to that. So, and then the last point on your question, as far as replacing us. Now, once again, we can't turn the page on this. It's not going anywhere. And so I'm worried like anybody else is. However, I don't want to let the worry overtake the opportunity, because it's not going anywhere. And I need to, if it's here and it's not going anywhere, I need to not be worried about what it is, but really, how do I protect myself and leverage it the best I can? So once again, remember, you can go in when we, as appraisers, I want everybody to be thinking about, this is basically something that you can talk to and get real-time advice. So it's something where, as appraisers, many times we're alone. Most appraisers aren't out networking. They're not in some of the Facebook groups. They're not at the conferences. A lot of them are, but the most aren't. We're in our foxholes. Mm-hmm. And so now you have this incredible tool. Say, this is what I'm struggling with. Okay, I need to diversify. How do I do that? Or, wow, this is happening in our industry. I need to know how to pivot in my life. I need to know how to pivot with my business. How can I take the skills that I have from appraising for all these years? What are some other things I could potentially pivot to? So now you have this incredible advisor, on your board to help you guide through over some of these obstacles and move forward. So once again, it's all how we think about leveraging and using this to help us in everything that we're doing. And imagine, having Warren Buffett on your panel. Now you can have Warren Buffett on your panel. Everybody should have Warren Buffett on their board, right? And say, hey, I need financial advice. And so anyway, hopefully that was helpful.
Absolutely. I've got so much to think about that what I'm going to ask is, would you be willing to come back in a month and do this again and talk about where we are at that point?
I'd love to. Because, one thing, Hal, this is something that is evolving so quickly. And so it's something that we really need to stay in tune with. So just for me, being as plugged in as I am to it, I can't even begin to tell you the overwhelm of different sources, tools, things that are coming across. So we really tried to disseminate between, what's real, what's helpful, what's most important, what's going to help appraisers the most as well. So I would love to do that. I'd be happy to do that, because I would love to see appraisers really start to learn what this really is and not what it isn't, and how it can really, really benefit them.
I love it. I'm going to bring Jim back in real quick. Jim Morrison, I'm sitting here wondering, are they going to do a ChatGPT version of me and I'm not necessary anymore. And, I don't need you to schedule the next podcast because ChatGPT can do that for us. There are a lot of things to think about here, Roy, and I cannot thank you enough for being here. I do seriously want to get you back on in, let's say, a month, maybe 2 months, something along those lines. And are you okay if we put out a call for questions from our audience and we call some of those and come to you with questions, and obviously we would provide them to you ahead of time?
No, I would be happy to, because that's really where they're going to get the most benefit, is when they bring the questions versus us always, telling or saying what we think everybody wants to hear. So I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, great. Jim, what else we got today?
So you hear that, listeners? Hal is assigning you some homework. So before we have Roy back on, he's asking you to go out and try ChatGPT. If you've never been there, go to chat.openai.com. Just try it out. Ask it some questions. Create a persona, do some things like that, and then come back to us with questions, and we'll ask them to Roy and, get its feedback. That's chat.openai.com. And then give us your thoughts. Reach out to us at comments@appraisalbuzz.com, and we'll give these questions to Roy.
I love it. Roy, thank you again for being here.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me. I think it's such an important topic right now to get out. So I appreciate that you're at the forefront of getting this word out to everybody.
Awesome. Jim?
Well, thank you so much, Roy. We really appreciate it. I really thought this was a great conversation. I can't wait to see what our listeners come back and say to us. Thanks to our listeners for joining us, and thanks for our sponsors for helping us put this on. Hal, I'll let you close it out.
Absolutely. For Jim Morrison and Roy Meyer, I'm Hal Humphreys, and that is the Appraisal Buzz.